Hello and welcome. I'm Ali Mustafa with a special edition of Strait Talk from the city of Idlib in Syria. It's an area that has come under a new management of sorts. It's the result of a new de-escalation zone agreed to by Turkey, Russia and Iran at the Astana peace talks. This area has been contested between opposition groups and the regime since the Syrian war broke out in 2011. It has changed hands between various rebel groups, recently passing through the hands of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham or HTS. Through all the change and turmoil, local councils have become essential tools to provide basic services to the people. A meeting behind closed doors with Idlib's newest leader and tribal elders from neighboring Hama. Mohammed al-Sheikh knows that he needs their support to be taken seriously in the Syrian city, and they know it too.
فأنت اليوم تجي على حاضنة فتكون عندك مصداقية من الشخص أو من العشيرة أو من الفرد أو من الأسرة، تمام؟
The two sides are trying hard to work together, but fear from above is making this a hasty introduction. As the meeting was underway, suspected Russian fighter jets killed dozens of people just a few kilometers away. The area was supposed to be safe. It's within a de-escalation zone backed by Turkey, Iran and Russia. Turkish forces entered Idlib in October to set it up. They're establishing at least 14 observation posts to monitor a ceasefire and keep the advance of the PKK-linked YPG terror group in check.
Now we're hoping with the entrance of the Turkish army, the bombings will stop.
Idlib is Syria's last rebel stronghold. It has been controlled by various opposition groups, including Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, formerly Al-Nusra Front. Russian and regime warplanes have dropped thousands of bombs on heavily packed areas to target them, but mostly civilians have been killed. In the absence of a functioning state, the locals have had to take matters into their own hands. Like Mohammed Mahfouz Kala, he's a civil engineer who heads one of Idlib's local councils. They're like neighborhood cooperatives, where everyone pitches in to keep things running, like collecting the trash.
Every year, more and more people are coming. There's a serious need to renovate the infrastructure. There are some very serious challenges for the local council with limited resources.
The new Syrian Salvation government must now start coordinating with the local councils to serve the public's needs.
We get our legitimacy from the people's support. There will be an expansion of the founding committee of the parliament. We will make extensive efforts to build a government with proper institutions. We are not limited to Idlib, but instead we have a project for all of Syria, with no exceptions, a united country.
The new government's plans are a sign of hope for young people like Muhammad Abdul al-Bakri. The 18-year-old left Idlib when his neighborhood was bombed a few years ago, but has since returned.
Frankly speaking, my dreams could be achieved here. My future is here and not abroad.
It's a new beginning for Idlib city. For now, its future, like its skies, remains uncertain. I met up with Mohammed al-Sheikh, the leader of the new government, at an undisclosed location to hear more about his plans to govern Idlib. Your government is called the Syrian Salvation Government. What are you trying to salvage, and is this the last resort? Because Idlib is a last rebel stronghold.
Of course, it is a very hard mission that is being carried out by the Salvation Government. We got into the picture at a very critical phase in terms of the political situation and in terms of services. Politically, I mean the global political reaction to the Syrian issue, because among some countries, there is a kind of push to end the Syrian revolution and shore up the Assad regime. There is also an even more dangerous project of dividing Syria. For this very reason, our task is to revive the Syrian revolution by giving it the momentum it had in its first days. The first thing is to establish security and safety. We want to restore security through the Ministry of Interior. 7 years have passed without security. Cars are without license plates, people don't have identification, so our main concern now is to restore security. Justice only comes after security. Any government has to establish security and justice.
Your government is very new. What would you say to people who say that you are very new, you can't possibly bring all these groups together that are already operating inside Idlib?
We can succeed if we allow all sides to take part. We as a government can do nothing if we do not give way to all parts of society from different areas. We will depend on local councils in suggesting and supervising projects. There will be a system to regulate work, as I have just told the tribal elders. Local councils will propose projects directly to the related ministries. Then they will be organized through coordination between the government and local councils. Without the local councils and the municipalities' help, we couldn't get anything done. We also have a very important resource, and that is human resources. We have a high percentage of young people. We also have highly competent people. If we succeed in organizing and sorting out members of this large competent group of people, we could do an excellent job. Then we could conduct projects which would alleviate the Syrian people's suffering.
ISIS or Daesh more or less has been taken out. Russia is still there. YPG, PKK is in Afrin. Do you think you can do anything now moving forward without the support of the Turkish army?
In fact, all of the evil powers have conspired against the Syrian people. They want to finish off the Syrian revolution. Because the Syrian revolution has proven to be a revolt not only against regional but also international regimes. If the Syrian revolution succeeds, it is possible that powerful regional regimes will also be toppled. The conspiracy is not a plot against Syria only, but also against Turkey. We completely recognize this fact. The conspirators plan to fragment Syria and break it down into a state of chaos. They intend to liquidate the Syrian revolution and shore up the Assad regime, which has killed more than 1 million of its people and displaced more than 7 million. The Assad regime has destroyed Syria. They want to sow sedition inside Turkey. They also want to fuel sedition and plots in Turkey like those sown in Syria. So we will succeed if we build a strategic alliance which binds the pro-Syrian revolution people on one side and the Turkish government along with its people on the other. The Salvation Government, which represents the genuine Syrian revolution, and the Turkish leadership, which has supported the Syrian people for 7 years, have strong coordination. And we firmly believe that it will continue to back any project which serves Syrian people and the Syrian revolution. When this strategic alliance is strengthened and well established, we will succeed.
Most Syrian cities saw their populations plummet as people fled the regime's brutality. But one region saw the reverse effect. This area, Idlib, has become a safe haven for hundreds of thousands of people, increasing its population manyfold in just a few short years. But the city's services and infrastructure haven't been able to keep up, as John Hassasu reports.
Allahu Akbar. An airstrike in Syria's Idlib province. Dozens of civilians were killed in a packed market in Atarab. Despite a so-called de-escalation zone here, civilian areas continue to be targeted. As a result, thousands have fled to IDP camps along the Turkish border. There, we meet this woman and her orphaned grandchildren. She arrived in Idlib after escaping the regime siege in Aleppo.
Since we left our homes, we have not settled anywhere. We're women and children. Now we've come here. Thank God for everything.
The Turkish Red Crescent says it is taking care of at least 10,000 orphans in 12 camps for the internally displaced in Idlib.
I can assure you that this is only the tip of the iceberg. We think that there are tens of thousands of orphan children beyond the reach of humanitarian organizations out there inside Syria.
One might assume that having survived regime attacks would ensure safety for survivors, but that isn't necessarily the case. Russian airstrikes on hospitals have killed thousands of people who were being treated for their injuries.
It's forced doctors to take hospitals underground, like this facility in Idlib city. There is a shortage of almost everything, from beds to medicine. Doctors say the regime has targeted hospitals despite international conventions protecting health facilities in wartime.
Most of the patients are civilians. There are very few injuries from the battlefronts. Most of the time civilian areas are targeted. Places like the markets and busy neighborhoods. So most of the injured people are civilians.
This injured girl has been brought here from western Aleppo countryside. She arrived at the hospital with a serious head injury caused by shrapnel. It's just one of the many injuries being treated here. For now, the patients and their relatives are hoping for a quick recovery. But the threat of an airstrike hitting the hospital occupies many a mind. Can Hasasu, Strait Talk.
And to discuss the state of medical facilities and the internally displaced Syrians who are visiting these centers, we're joined by Dr. Mohammed Abrash, who is the medical director of Idlib Central Hospital. What is the #1 medical emergency in Idlib right now, doctor?
Okay, actually we are facing here in Idlib the many civilian injured patients, especially after airstrikes here in Idlib, so that we are staying here in this hospital underground, and we're facing a lot of patients. We have many patients here because the Idlib area became very crowded area. If you can see, we have a lot of patients. Somebody is coming with acute abdomen, somebody come with gunshots, somebody will come with needing ICU patient and critical patient, especially after airstrikes. We are facing a lot of problems here. But we're facing the problem of shortening of beds. You can see this area is very small area. We cannot occupy all our patients coming here.
Let's give our viewers an idea of where we are. We are in an underground facility. Now, these hospitals were made underground because Russian airstrikes were destroying medical facilities and schools. So people like Dr. Abrash here and others were able to move the hospitals and emergency rooms like this one. For our viewers, if we can just...
We have 1 bed, 2, 3, 4, and 2 other beds here, only 6 beds, and we are facing daily maybe thousands of patients coming to this area.
1,000 patients?
Maybe 1,000 or around 800 or 1,000 patients daily coming to emergency room. And then we have here the doctor, an emergency doctor. He will check the patient and then refer to other specialties like general surgery. Like me, I'm general surgeon. To neurosurgery also, to ENT surgery, we are to vascular surgery. We have all these specialties here, and we are selecting the patient and doing operations inside.
Tell us about the internally displaced IDPs. Has that put pressure on the medical health infrastructure in Idlib?
Of course, it's putting a lot of pressure on us. We cannot serve all these patients. Okay, we are only few doctors here working alone. We need more helps. We need more medication. We need more facilities to accommodate all these patients.
You've been here for a few years now. How has the situation in the past couple of months changed?
Now, after this airstrike stop for a few months, really we are facing a lot of patients, more of patients, because the patient before, when there is a strikes, all the patients are distributed in the areas away from here. Now all the patient is crowded and accumulate in Idlib city, okay? So any illness, any patient has any illness, he will come here. So this one, it will put also us on pressure.
Doctor, you're talking about urgent need of medicine. Where is most of the medicine coming from into Idlib? Because on one side you have the regime, then you've got Afrin on the other, so there's no way for medication to come in except the Turkish border.
Only Turkish border is the one way we are collecting this medication, and it will come by donation. Somebody will donate this for us and give it to us. So donation is not enough for us, so that we have shortage of medication.
Doctor, we can't emphasize enough that there are a lot of people here, there's a lot of commotion here. What more needs to be done here?
Also, we have shortage of OR rooms also, and supplies for OR operation, what we need to do. Like orthopedic operations or general surgery operations or neurosurgery operation. And even our OR, if you see, our door is a curtain. We don't have door to close the OR
you're holding it with these curtains on the side.
Yes, we are holding that. And you will see our equipment is very old.
Actually, let's show
it's very old. And here you see we have a lot of work here inside. We have 5 OR rooms and all are busy. Daily we are doing maybe 30 to 40 operations.
How many doctors in the OR?
Yeah. In the OR we have, actually I told you, general surgeon, neurosurgeon, ENT surgeon, and orthopedic surgeon, and vascular surgeon. 5 doctors. We have 5 rooms.
What is the most common thing that these people are treating here, the doctors?
We are treating the orthopedic cases, general surgery cases, this is the most, and the third is neurosurgery patients. Like example, gunshot in the brain. I am treating anything in the abdomen. Gunshot is the abdomen, acute appendicitis, for example, intestinal obstruction, something like this.
So a lot of gunshot wounds.
There is a lot of gunshot wounds. And for orthopedic, for actually
even now when the situation is relatively
there is some bombs. It's coming from the remaining bombs from the regime. Sometimes the children will play with it and it will blast on them, so that it will injure them, and we have many cases like this came to us.
Dr. Brush, thank you so much.
Now, despite the strain on public services in Idlib, the city's university and opportunities there are spurring optimism. Admissions are up, and despite security threats, campus life is becoming vibrant once again.
And to get a better sense of how life is like inside Idlib, I'm joined by Dr. Mahmoud Badawi. He's the editor of Research Review magazine at Idlib University and the Deputy Rector of Administrative Affairs for Idlib University, Dr. Ahmed Alouche. Thank you so much here. We are standing outside the medical faculty and I see some damage to the building. Tell us about life in education institutes at Idlib University over the past few years.
نعم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نحن الآن في جامعة إدلب.
We are at Idlib University, where we have around 11,000 students from different areas of Syria right now.
محافظات في سوريا.
And the university is 2 years old.
جامعة إدلب سنتين تقريبا. في الفترة الماضية.
In the past period, the university was attacked by the Syrian regime, just like hospitals and schools were targeted.
كما تهاجم المشافي أيضا هوجمت المدارس والجامعة.
Thanks to God, the damage was repaired and the university was equipped with the minimum standards to provide education to students at 11 faculties and 4 institutes that cover various areas of specialization.
11 كلية و4 معاهد تستوعب
in order to prepare people who will lead the country in the future. We at Idlib University fall under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Higher Education, which was formed as part of the rescue government in liberated areas.
Dr. Ahmed is talking about the new government that has come into place, new ministers are here. How important is it for local council and local people here in Idlib, students here as well, how important is it for local people to take charge of their own affairs?
Then we know Idlib now is gathering all the Syrian refugees. That means I haven't the right number, but maybe we have more than 1 million people here in the city. That means now the local councils, they are trying to give the right response for all the needs of this population.
It seems that despite years of war here, life is continuing. Education institutions are running. We've also seen a lot of construction activity, tamirat. Tell us about the construction activity here in the past couple of years, and especially in the past few months. How has that progressed here?
نعم الحقيقة نحن في الفترة الماضية كانت مدينة إدلب
In the last period, Idlib and its suburbs witnessed aggressive shelling by a regime air force, which led to displacing most people in Idlib to areas that are safer. Now that we have relative safety, people have returned to the city and it's coming back to life. At Idlib University, the number of students is increasing and they are coming back because it's safer. Honestly speaking, Idlib University needs two kinds of support. One is support in getting accreditation from other universities for degrees granted by our university. And the other is financial support to equip labs, facilities, and give out scholarships. The current number of students is 11,000, and this number can double. However, financial difficulties students and their families face due to the war affects enrollment rates, and therefore students are unable to join Idlib University.
Dr. Lush, we've spoken to the professors, but let's go and speak to some of the students as well and see what they're saying. What's your name?
My name is Majd al-Mursid.
Tell us about life here in Idlib over the past few years.
Life in Idlib at the moment is very good. It was difficult during our first year, but has improved this year, thank God. Conditions for studying, life and housing have all improved. A lot of things that were lacking before are now available.
Thank you so much. Very enthusiastic. And as you said, 11,000 students. What kind of future are these students, the young people in Idlib, looking at, Dr. Mahmoud?
You know, what is happening in Syria, it isn't only a local problem. This is a global problem. And our students, they know something that maybe they will have a job later or not. But they have the force to do that now. And this is which really is, I think, before anything from our Islam. Otherwise, if we look about the means which we have, we couldn't do anything. And we say there's no future for us, but the future is for us, for the Islam.
Dr. Lush, finally, Dr. Mahmoud seems very hopeful about the future, and so do the students here. But there are threats. Bashar al-Assad is still in power. Afrin is another area of concern for not only the Turks but also for the opposition in Idlib. Tell us about these threats.
Alhamdulillah, al-ahali fi Idlib, inshallah yad wahdi.
People in Idlib are united despite disagreements that are normal among brothers. We will be united in defending the city that has been resisting since the beginning of the revolution and has taken and displaced people from all areas. We will not bow to any aggressors, whether they be PKK or Bashar al-Assad and his followers. These students are the best proof of how life continues here. We will never give up or lose hope. On the contrary, we will keep developing our liberated areas and continue to fight to liberate all of Syria from this vicious regime.
Dr. Alouche, thank you so much. Dr. Badawi, shukran. And that's all for this edition of Strait Talk from Idlib in northern Syria. If you have any comments or suggestions, do share them with us online at #StraitTalk. Until next time, take care and goodbye.